Here we are on the front of our Astoria 230 ML by Dutchman. We're going to do a walkthrough on all the components of this unit. If for whatever reason your components vary in brand, we do have other videos in our helpful hacks section that might go over that brand, and we have more specific information on these particular items in that helpful hacks section as well. We're just going to touch on small operation points and feed through the technical walkthrough. On the front of our unit, we have our kingpin and our 7-way up here. This 7-way transfers our power for our lights, our blinkers, and everything for the towable unit. Now also in here we have our charge line. That charge line should charge your battery while you're driving down the road. On the other side here we have our breakaway connection. This breakaway connection is a 12-volt safety device. You'll hook this cable to somewhere on your truck, not your hitch. And if that pin were to ever pull out because of a disconnection of the unit for whatever reason, it will activate the brakes on your trailer and stop it. On our front cap, we do have some lights up here. Those lights are initiated by this switch right here next to our jack panel. Now we can see here we have our 2 landing gears. These are 12-volt electric landing gears. You'll have one motor on this side and this crossbar that is going to run both of these jacks. Now anytime you disconnect your unit, you want at least 5 or 6 holes showing on these landing gears to drop them down. Of course you'll still be connected. You'll pull these pins out, drop the leg down, and then make sure this pin is all the way through to where you see it on the other side whenever you lock it back in. Once they're down, you can hit extend or retract and run those landing gears up and down. In our front compartment, we can see our storage box for our battery where our connections will be, and we can also see behind it, this is our battery disconnect. Battery disconnect is we want to disconnect our battery when we're storing it, that way it doesn't drain it. We'll turn it to the off position, and we want it on when we're plugged in, that way it is charging the battery when we're plugged in. We also have our Lippert tire link system. It is prepped, which means we have this little sensor here along with our wiring. We would have to purchase the tire link system to add on here along with the 4 sensors on our tires. That is a package that you can purchase and just clips into here, and you put the sensors on the tire valves themselves. On each side of your unit you have a small compartment right there in the front. This is for your propane tanks. We have dual propane tanks with a dual propane regulator. This is an auto changeover regulator, which means that if you have this tank selected, this one goes dry, it will give us a red indicator on that regulator, and it will automatically swap to the other tank. That way you never lose propane. In the event that both tanks are dry, of course that system is not going to operate anymore, and we need to get our tanks changed out. Here in our front pass-through bay, we do have a motion sense light right here. The number 1 switch on the bottom means that that light is on all the time. We'll have an off position and then a number 2 switch. This has a motion sensor on the top of the light, so you can have it on number 2, close this compartment, the light will turn off automatically, and when we open this compartment back up, that light will kick back on from motion. Down below that light we have our quick connect for our umbilical water hose right here. We can take that quick connect, put it in there, and we can have a water hose spray port. When we want to disconnect, we push that ring and that piece comes out. Down below that we have our city water connection. Our city water connection is if we have a hose connection at the campground we're at and we hook that up, we can put an inline filtration system. We turn that water hose on and that provides water to all of our fixtures on the interior. To the right of it we have our black tank flush. Our black tank flush is what we're going to use to flush out that sewage tank. We'll go over a little bit more information on that when we get to our dump station. Just remember that that's where it's located. Above that we have our hot water heater bypass. This is used when we do winterization of our unit to help conserve the amount of antifreeze that we have to use for the unit rather than filling that tank up. Then we would go to this and bypass it. That way nothing will go into that system. We have more information for that in our other videos. Up above it we have 2 coax connections. These would be for our cable connections at our campground. We would hook to there and we can scan for channels on the interior of our unit. Down here at the bottom, this is the dump station we were talking about. So we have our connection down here at the bottom where we would hook up our sewer hose. We have 2 tanks, our black tank and our gray tank, properly labeled here. We'll start with the gray tank. The gray tank is where our shower and sink water go. So this is just water. We can leave that valve open all the time if we are at a campsite with a dump station. We leave our hose hooked up, we run that to that dump station, and we can let that water flow constantly throughout our camping trip. When we are not at a dump station, we need to have that valve closed, wait till we get to the dump station, we can drain it out. Our black tank, however, is from our toilet, okay? So that sewage, we want to keep that closed all the time until we are ready to dump. Whether the tank is full or we're done with our trip and we're ready to dump, we hook that hose up and we pull the valve and we clear everything that's in that system out. That's where our black tank flush comes in. We hook a water hose up to that, and it's got like a spray nozzle in that black tank that's going to help push all the debris towards this valve to dump it out. So we're going to have to do that several times to get that tank flushed and cleaned out properly. When we are done, we can close this black tank valve, seal it off, and put several gallons of water back into that black tank, whether we use our black tank flush valve or we just shut that off and we go to our toilet and hold the valve down there and insert water from there. The reason we do this is we don't want any debris to get stuck inside that tank. That is one reason why we keep this valve closed. We want to keep liquids in there. If we don't, it will cause dry tank, the solids that we put in there, damage that tank, and it cannot be fixed, so we have to replace the tank. So once we are done, close the valve, turn that black tank flush on, or go flush your toilet for an extended period of time, add several gallons of water to that clean tank, and then pour some chemicals in there. You will still have a little bit of debris, maybe some stuff stuck to the walls, and this will help that stuff from sticking by help keeping it moist and probably eventually knocking it down. So keep this valve closed whenever in use until we are ready to dump it. Make sure we flush out, leave several gallons of water, and make sure you add your chemicals. Down below we have this hole right here. This hole is for when we pull our water hose and whatnot through here, and we can get a right angle attachment on this city water connection for that hose to go down through the hole so we can still close our compartment door. Here is where your dump valve is for that system. This is where we'd hook up our sewer hose and run it out to that dump station. Behind it, you can see a red and blue line with some valves on it. Those are our low point drains. These are if we ever want to winterize our unit or just drain the water out of our plumbing system. We'll have those open and it will drain the water out of our pipes. Up above me here, we have our furnace cover. This is for technician access. This is the exhaust for it, so when we run our furnace, we will have some hot air that exhausts out of that system. Also, under your unit towards the front, we can see we have a storage station for that sewer hose. We can pop the cap on that and store our sewer hose in that pipe. Here we have our 50 amp supply. This is our twist lock plug. In order to insert this plug, we will line up our prongs on our unit and we will just push them in. There's only one way that they can go. Slide it in, give it a little twist to the right to lock it in, and then we want to put that retainer ring on. That retainer ring is to help that plug from dropping out of the unit or causing any arcing or sparking from a loose connection. Before we plug our unit in here, we want to make sure we're unplugged over there at our power pole. We also want to make sure that our appliances are off on our unit, mainly our AC. That way it doesn't cause any abrupt surges to our unit. Here is our Furrion tankless water heater system. This is an on-demand system, so it's not going to kick on until you actually activate that hot water, and it is a gas-operated system. We'll go over the functions of that when we go inside. Our slide out on this unit is 12-volt operated by the switch at our convenience center. It is a cable-driven slide. We can see our cables here. We have more information on that in one of our other videos. You'll look for the cable-driven slides. We do see under our slide out, we have another gray valve right here. This gray valve is for our separate tank. So we have two gray tanks. The valve for it is right here. Once again, we can keep that system open all the time. We also see a single blue line down there with a valve on it. That is to drain out our fresh tank system. We'll go over that here shortly. Here we are on the rear of our unit. You can see we have our backup camera system already installed on our unit. This will help us to see what's behind us while we're driving or when we're backing up. We have a vent right here. This vent has a couple little plunger tabs to help keep it closed. When we use it, we just pop it open. That vent is for our range hood over our stovetop. So when we want to function that, we need to make sure it's open. When we are done using it, close it when we're storing our unit. This helps prevent any insects or bugs from building a nest up in that vent. Right here we have our freshwater tank. So you remember that little single blue line with the valve on it we talked about underneath the unit? That is to drain out this fresh tank. We want to fill it by removing this cap. We take a water hose, we can fill it up, we can monitor that level by hitting the fresh tank button on our monitor panel on the inside. We use our fresh tank when we don't have a city water connection wherever we're at. We'll turn that 12-volt water pump on and it will pull water from this tank and supply it to our fixtures inside of our unit. So we keep that in mind. Whenever we need it, we leave water in it. When we don't, we drain it from that line down at the bottom, because of course this is extra weight. A lot of people leave maybe a few gallons of water in there just in case there's an emergency, but if you don't need it, don't haul it. Another thing, we don't want to leave water in there for an extended period of time because it will become stagnant in that tank. So if you're not using it, just drain it out. We do have ladder access here. This ladder access brings us to our roof where we can check our rubber roof and we can check our sealant on the rubber roof around our vents, our edges, everywhere on it. And we also need to check all the sealants around our trim, our lights, our windows, anywhere where there's a hole in the side of our unit. We need to do this every 60 to 90 days on our roof and the sides of our unit. We are looking for any cracking, peeling, openings, tears in the rubber from a tree scraping it, whatever the case may be. We are looking for opportunities for water entry. It is considered customer maintenance to keep up with these items on your unit. If you don't do it, water can leak in there and the manufacturer is not going to participate because you aren't checking it properly. So we need to make sure we're checking all those things out. These things flex a lot while they're on the road, so it is possible for some of those things to open up. That sealant on the roof will also dry up a little bit over time with the sun, so it'll shrink or it'll crack or it'll peel, whatever the case may be. We need to apply new sealant to it, and there are particular sealants for these roofs and the sides of our unit. You need to check your owner's manual to verify what you need. Down below we have a receiver hitch. This receiver hitch is for like a carriage or something that we want to haul a basket behind us. It is not intended for a trailer because it doesn't have tow hooks on it, obviously. So keep that in mind whenever you use it. It is not intended for towing golf carts or anything of that nature. As we move down the passenger side of our unit, we have our solar on the side plug, little two-prong plug. This is for our solar system. Let's say we park our unit in storage under a tree, something like that. Well, our sun is not going to get to our solar panels on our unit, so we can buy a separate solar panel to plug in right there and put it wherever we need to be able to catch that sun power. We do have a controller already installed in our unit that transfers that power from solar into actual charging energy for your battery system. So you already have all of those connections already made and operating on your unit. Here we have another tank, like I said, on each side. We do have that propane tank system, and that regulator is located on the other side. In our pass-through storage, we do have LED lights in here for storage, and we can turn that off and on right there. We have another GFCI protected outlet, just like we do further down. We'll mention that again here in a minute. Once again, our solar controller is right here as well. Under our awning, of course, we have our entry door with our keypad lock system. We'll simply enter our code in here and it will lock and unlock our deadbolt on our unit, so we don't have to worry about carrying keys around. Our entry door does have friction controlled hinges, so you're going to feel a little bit of resistance when you open and close that door. It's perfectly normal. We do this so we don't have any latches on our doors to have to worry about unlatching, and this helps if the wind blows from keeping the door from slamming and causing any damage to the door. We do have a screen door on here, released by just pulling that lever, and we can turn it into our frame and have a nice screen door. To reattach, close it against our entry door and it stays. We have our solid step system right here. Solid step system is stored by simply lifting and making sure that this tab right here makes it around our frame. We can give it a little pull to make sure that it is attached before we close our door. And to let it down, we pull that blue lever once again and we can pull our steps down. Now it's very important that we have these steps level. So after you have leveled your unit from the front landing gears, we are level all the way through. We want to come level our steps. To do that, we have these tabs right here on the bottom. We put our steps down and we push that tab in. When we do, we can see our leg moves up and down. So we get our steps where we want them and we can pull that tab and either push our steps out or in to get that system level. It's very important because when we close our door, if we're not level, these frames can hit this door right here and cause damage to the door. We don't want that. So make sure after you've leveled your unit out that we are leveling our steps out as well. Here we have a cable outlet for our outdoor TV, our mount for our outdoor TV, and a 110 GFCI protected plug right there for our TV as well. In the event this GFCI protected outlet is not working, we want to go on the inside, find the main one. We'll cover that here in a little bit when we get to the interior. That main GFCI is going to have a reset button on it. So if any of our GFCI protected outlets are not working, they generally have a little sticker on them letting you know they're GFCI protected. We want to go to that main outlet and try to reset it to see if that fixes our problem. Here we have our bar for our grill or griddle, whatever comes with your unit, and we set it right there, and we have an LP quick connect right under here that we can hook that quick connect to and supply gas to our griddle or grill from our propane tanks in the front. Our last compartment here has a 110 operated little dorm fridge. It will have a little freezer section in there as well. One thing to keep in mind, anytime you plug in your unit, this system is going to turn on unless you turn the breaker off or you unplug it. It's going to turn on. It's going to start getting cold. So that freezer section is going to develop a little bit of ice. The refrigerator section is going to develop some moisture in it. Anytime we unplug our unit, all of that's going to defrost. That is going to leave a puddle of water in the bottom of that fridge, which has the potential to leak out and damage our wood components underneath. Make sure after any time of use we defrost that properly and we clean all the water out with a towel, because if it leaks out and damages that wood, manufacturers are not going to cover that kind of damage. So make sure we are taking care of that. If you're not using it regularly, I would just unplug it so we don't cause any damage to our unit. Down below here we have our LCI stabilizer jacks, not leveling jacks, stabilizer jacks, to help reduce movement in your unit. If you want to level your unit from left or right, you need to put the leveling blocks under your tires as you back up to get it straightened out there, and our front landing gears will level our unit from front to back. These are meant to touch the ground and just put a little bit of weight on them, and that will help stabilize the movement inside your unit. Shouldn't ever overextend them or put too much weight on them because that will damage them, and manufacturer's not going to cover damage. To operate, simple as this: extend, retract, and once again it is a 12-volt operated system. We have a little resettable breaker under here. It will reset on its own. If it gets overheated due to over amperage or something, give it an opportunity to reset and try to operate that function again. If this continues to happen, you want to bring it in to have it looked at. But there is an override for this. There's a handle and an option on the other side with a little post. That handle will line up with that post, and you can manually crank that jack up and down in the event that the system is not working. As we walk into our unit on the left, we can see our control center. Our control center lets us know what the levels of our fresh tank, our black tank, and our two gray tanks are on this system, and it also gives us our battery level as well. We can turn on and off our interior lights as well as our exterior awning light right there. We have our water pump. Our water pump, remember, will pull from our fresh tank system. In the event we are hooked to city water, just leave this pump off. We don't need to have it on, and we certainly don't want it on unless we have water in that tank. White indicates off, blue indicates on. Down here we have our awning extend and retract, as well as our slide out, extend and retract as well. We do have this Bluetooth connection feature. If we hold down that Bluetooth button and it will start to flash, we go to the settings on our phone and we look for that Bluetooth system and we can connect, and if we download the Connect app, then it will actually allow us to run a lot of these features from our phone. Down here we have our Jensen radio system. Pretty standard AM, FM. It also has Bluetooth function as well. Right by the steps up to our hallway, we have our COLP detector to warn us of any harmful gases in our unit. We want to test that monthly by holding down that test button until it chirps. This is a 12-volt component. We want to make sure our batteries are in good condition. That way it can alert us of safety. Over here we have our 110 12-volt control center. We have our 110 breakers right here and our 12-volt fuses right here. So if we have problems with any of our components, we want to come here first, make sure none of the breakers are tripped, and make sure none of those blade fuses are blown. Here we have our Furrion AC thermostat. We'll start with our cool option first. Our cool will cool the air throughout our unit. We of course sit our thermostat to whatever point we want it to be, and we have our fan speed options. We have low and high. For low and high, that fan will run all the time. Now, whenever we want that fan to cut off, whenever the compressor cuts off, much like we likely do at home, we have it on auto. That system will shut off and on with the compressor. Our next mode is our heat mode. Our heat mode activates our gas-powered furnace on our unit. We choose our set point, and our heater will come on whenever necessary. There is fan speeds on here, but it does not change the fan speed on that furnace. It is a single fan speed on there controlled by the furnace board. Our next mode is our fan mode. Our fan mode simply circulates air throughout our unit without cooling it or anything. This will come out of our rooftop air, and we can just change from high to low to control that fan speed if we wish. That fan will stay on the entire time when we have it in our fan mode. Our last mode is our dry mode. Our dry mode is like a dehumidifier. We can choose our set point, and it will cool our unit down to that set point, and it will continue to cool past that, but alternate every 6 to 10 minutes off and on. That way it doesn't drop that temperature too low and freeze you out of the unit, but it still dries the air in your unit. Another thing to note with our furnace is that the air is going to come out of the vents on the floor. It's not going to come out of the rooftop air. Your only rooftop air is going to be your fan and your cool and your dry. Your heat will come out of those floor vents from the furnace. Below it is our max air vent control over our kitchen. Pretty simple: vent open, vent close. To open and close that vent, we have 4 fan speeds on here, and we can also turn that vent off. Below that is our Furrion gas water heater system. In order to turn that system on, simply click that button. We can see our power indicator is on. To the right of it, we have our Fahrenheit and Celsius indicators. If we want to choose what temperature degree we want, we can push that button there, and this is what our set temperature is. In order to change that, we can just hit that button there and click to the desired temp. Whenever we activate our hot water on our system, this flame indicator right here will light up, indicating that the flame is lit and the unit is operational. Here in our kitchen area, we have a 12-volt refrigerator. In this case, it's a Furrion. Others may have different brands. And our unit has a freezer and a fridge. We also have a dial right here that we can turn it from cold to colder or off. Now, just like that outdoor refrigerator, there's no drains on this one. We need to make sure we defrost it properly, get all the water out of that freezer area, wipe down our fridge, and keep any mold or mildew from developing in that fridge, and make sure that we get the water out so it doesn't damage our wood components around it. Here we have our standard 110 microwave as well as our range hood vent. Remember the vent on the outside? I said you have to open and close. Well, that's what this exhausts to. So 12-volt operated fan on there, and we also have a 12-volt light right here. And we do have a screen filter under here that can be cleaned if it gets too greasy and dirty. We have our 3-burner gas stovetop with our glass cover. This glass cover needs to be down during travel, otherwise it will break. Our stovetop right here, if we click on our light on the side, to the top it only does these, to the bottom it does these, and your oven down at the bottom. Now, to initiate these, we just turn it to the flame icon on our stovetop, and we're going to hit our igniter. Our igniter is going to light our stovetop or whatever burner we decided we wanted to use. Now, a key thing about a stovetop is it's the best place to come purge air out of your system. Anytime you take your unit out of storage and you had your valves off, well, that propane is going to dissipate out of line and there's going to be air in the system. Anytime you change your tanks out, it's going to end up with air in the system. So before you hit the road camping, or once you get to that campsite, you turn your propane bottles on, you come to this stovetop, you turn it to that flame icon, and you just keep turning that igniter until it lights. Once it lights, you want a nice crisp blue powerful flame on there, and then once it is done doing that, you can go operate any other propane appliance that you want, such as your furnace or your tankless water heater system. You can do it anyways, but what more than likely is going to happen is you'll end up with a fault on those items. This oven down here will take forever to light because you're trying to purge all that air out of the system, and this is the quickest way to do it. Let's go into our oven and how to light that pilot and operate it as well. We have our oven. Our oven can be initiated by using our knob all the way to the right. we'll turn it to that flame sense. The only difference on this one, we have to push it down. When we push it down and hold it, we're going to turn it until that pilot light's underneath. Now, even though that pilot is lit, we have to hold that button down for a little while until the thermocouple warms up. Once we pull our thumb off of it, we should see it stay lit. Once it stays lit, we can go ahead and turn our knob to our desired temperature and our burner tube will light up. If the pilot light goes out whenever you pull off of that knob, then that means you didn't hold it down long enough and you should go ahead and relight it. Our bathroom is fairly self-explanatory. We do have a couple of cool features because it's an RV. So if we're dry camping, we're trying to conserve the amount of water that we use out of our fresh tank as well as the amount of water we put in our gray tank. Well, we can go through the hassle of shutting our valves off here and then trying to find that sweet spot, or we can hit this on-off button on our shower head and it will shut that shower head off, and we can soap up in between rinses or do whatever we need to do, hit that button and it kicks it back on without having to lose our setting for our hot water. So keep that in mind. Pretty cool, easy trick, but also keep in mind that first burst of water is going to be a little chilly, so turn it to the side. Just a quick tip out of experience there. Above me, we do have an exhaust fan. This is 12-volt operated fan. This will allow the steam and everything to exhaust out of here. I highly suggest you use that. That way you don't build up any humidity in here and cause any damage to any of your panels. We have our shower door right here. Our shower door does move back and forth. When we travel, we want to also make sure that we have that travel latch on there and make sure that it is sticking and staying. We have our toilet, our RV toilet system. If we are using number 1, which means just liquids, right? We can just flush away, hit that pedal right there, flush it down. If we are doing solids, number 2, we want to build the water up in that bowl, so barely push the pedal and it will begin to lift the water level of that bowl. When we're done, we can go ahead and flush that system down. This helps the solids go down into our tank easier without having any clogs or issues down the way. This is where you're going to go to pour your chemicals in, either during use or whenever you're getting ready to store it. Whatever is needed, help reduce the smell and break down the stuff that's in it. We have much more information on that in our black tank flush video. Over here we have our GFCI outlet. We'll touch on that right now. So here is our main GFCI outlet we've been talking about with all those protected outlets. We have a test button and a reset button here. If any of those outlets were to trip on their own, we would walk in here and we would see this light is off. That would indicate that that system is down. We hit that reset button and it powers back up and gives us power to all those outlets. In the event we want to test our system, we can hit that test button right there and go check and make sure we don't have power to those outlets, and then come back and reset it. Not too much to go over in our bedroom area. We do have some storage under the foot of our bed that we can open up and add whatever we want in there. We also have our ceiling assembly and our Furrion thermostat. That's going to work just like the one in our living room area. And we have a mount for our TV. Now in here is where we have our antenna boost power. We'll notice on this plate we have 2 buttons, and one button is our antenna power. The LED light will be on. That will send an antenna 12-volt boost to our antenna to look for more air channels and expand that area. Now that's on when we're searching for air channels. When we're hooked up to cable at the campground, we want that button off with the green LED off. That will allow us to scan for cable channels on our unit. Now if we leave that on, it's going to scramble those cable channels, so we want to make sure that's off when we're scanning for those. The other button on here is our Wi-Fi power. If we upgraded our WineGuard antenna system with a router, it would give us the opportunity to amplify any Wi-Fi signal that the campground gives you, and it would produce power to that router. Now once again, this is an upgraded system. You have to add the router for there. You'll also have the option to purchase a cellular plan with that 4G LTE option, to where you can put a SIM card in there and have it wherever that cellular provider provides you that service. In our closet here, we are also prepped for that washer dryer upgrade if we want. and we have the piping and drain already there ready to go.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit, and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.